Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, fuel tanker fire accidents claim 7 lives in Abuja with some others critically injured. Police intelligence response team strikes a telling blow on kidnappers, arrests Nigeria's most notorious kidnap kingpin in Lagos. Acting President Yemi Osinbajo meets African and Nordic ambassadors, seeks greater global cooperation against terrorism. And Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, son of late Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi, released from prison after being granted amnesty. We begin with tragic news this evening. A tanker fire has killed 7 people in Abuja, the nation's capital. The tanker laden with diesel was said to have experienced brake failure and ran into another vehicle, killing 3 women and 4 children in the ensuing blaze. Those killed were among the 11 occupants of the vehicle whose driver escaped the fire. Others who escaped, according to eyewitness and the acting commandant of the FCT fire service, include the other 2 male occupants of the vehicle.
I was sitting down here with car wash. I bring my car down to wash it. There's more time. I was just hearing the tanker is falling. When it's falling, in the next 30 minutes, the fire will now burst. The fire will now starting bursting. Then there's 11 people inside the vehicle in the front. 3 women with 8 men, but 4 men, including the driver with the motor boys, they already went out. Then the women, 3 of them with 4 children, they are inside. Then all of them, they are dead now.
They called us from the office that a tanker fell here, and immediately we turned out a foam tender, a water tender, and a water tanker to the scene of the incident. And since then, we have been battling with the fire. But immediately we got here, we were able to rescue 4 people. From the fire.
In other news, the Inspector General of Police of Intelligence Response Team has arrested a notorious kidnap kingpin, Chukwududu Meme Onwama-Dike, popularly known as Evans, today at Magodo Estate in Lagos. Police sources say the 36-year-old suspect, who has been on their watch list for about 7 years now, is reputed to be the most brilliant, notorious and richest kidnapper in Nigeria's history. A riddle of several years finally solved by men of the intelligence response team. They unraveled the identity of this notorious high-profile kidnapper, Chukwududu Meme Onwama-Dike, also known as Evans. Leading intelligence officials to his place of abode along Fred Shoboyede Road in Magodo area of Lagos. One can only imagine the elements that make up this magnificent structure. A reflecting automated steel gate provides the only entrance into the compound, closely watched by closed-circuit cameras. Power supply is no problem here, as that is taken care of by these generating sets. Speaking later on the gang's operations from Lagos to Anambra, Edo and Port Harcourt, the suspect claims his arrest was difficult for authorities owing to the fact that they only converge at a meeting point for their operations and sharing of ransom.
I started in Anambra. Then from Anambra I moved to Edo. Then I come to Lagos. I have people that give me information. Each time I want to go for operation, I will connect on phone. I will call them on phone, like let's meet so and so place, before we start going for the operation. We'll kidnap. The highest money we collected is from First Tag, $1 million. From somebody even in First Tag.
At the State Police Headquarters Ikeja, Lagos, recovered arms, thousands of ammunition, locally made chain for victims and gang members, including a couple, are all on display. The arrival of the kingpin raises the tempo in this parade, as is welcomed with shouts and chants.
The arrest of Evans and his gang member is the beginning to the end of kidnapping, another violent crime in this country.
This latest arrest may bring some relief to residents of Lagos and its environs. The expectation, however, is that police will be able to rescue those still in captivity of these kidnappers and ultimately put an end to the menace. In the meantime, the increasing number of kidnapping on the Abuja Kaduna Expressway has become a source of concern for Nigeria's security agencies. Recently, over 10 people have been allegedly kidnapped along the expressway, a claim the police denies. Meanwhile, some of the victims recounted how kidnappers disguised as army officers attacked the vehicle they were traveling in on Wednesday.
This is the Kaduna-Abuja Highway. The 211-kilometer road serves as a gateway into most states in the northwest zone from the Federal Capital Territory. For some time now, the poor road network, incessant cases of kidnapping and armed robbery along the ever-busy highway have combined to make it unattractive for people to ply the road. In the last 7 months, no fewer than 6 prominent persons have been kidnapped along this highway. Among those kidnapped include a former minister, serving federal and state lawmakers, as well as foreigners. Apart from targeting high-profile persons, travelers plying the road are also not safe, as armed bandits abduct their victims randomly. Some of the kidnapped victims narrate their ordeal.
These men were wearing army uniform. They stopped a car in front of us, and we were thinking maybe they are military people trying to check the vehicles that are passing, not knowing that they are kidnappers.
That very day I was scared, and I was very scared.
Not too long ago, the Inspector General of Police deployed special forces to help curb the menace of kidnapping and other criminal acts along the highway. Sadly, rather than abating, the crime is increasing by the day, with the latest abduction of over 10 persons.
These people are going to be given a particular section of the road, and we're going to cover the outer and the inner, that is the 2 lanes, and we put them at a distance that when the response will be swift, and we've told them that we should not have mercy for those of them who will come and kidnap or rob by the use of gun and by taking people's life.
Danjuma Sediki, a relative to one of the kidnapped victims, complained about the Kaduna State Police Command's investigation of the incident.
I and some of my concerned friends reported the matter to the Kaduna State Police Command, where we met with some of the top brass of the command. They promised to investigate the matter and ensure the release of the captives. To our greatest shock, instead of doing the needful, the Kaduna State Command decided to debunk it through a press statement signed by the Deputy Commissioner of Police, DCP Ahmed Abdulrahman, describing it as false, claiming that there was no truth in the story, that it was misleading, and he called on the public to disregard it.
The Kaduna-Abuja highway has gained notoriety due to the activities of kidnappers who terrorize motorists and travelers. Residents are demanding that security agencies step up the fight against the bandits in order to make the roads safe.
72 hours after Boko Haram attacked a community in Maiduguri, the acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, is seeking greater cooperation with world leaders in the fight against terrorism. Speaking during a dinner with ambassadors from African and Nordic nations at the State House, Professor Osinbajo pushed for better synergy among nations. He observed that issues of development as well as trade and investment now form the focus of discussions between the nations, a drastic shift from the persistent issues of aid and assistance. The acting president also pointed out that the annual meetings should be an opportunity to strengthen relationships between the nations.
The discussions have moved away from years past when all that was about aid or assistance, and we're now talking about substantive issues of development and cooperation. I'm sure that we all appreciate that all over the world today, if there is any subject that is of great concern to all, it is terrorism and the implications of terrorism. For us in Nigeria, we not only experienced the worst parts and the violence that attends it, but was still the great humanitarian disaster that follows insurgencies of this kind and terrorist activities of this kind. The other day I was in Maiduguri, and just looking at the sheer scale of what has gone wrong, the number of children, the number of displaced persons, the number of young people out of school and without any kind of means of livelihood. All of this point to the fact that the world really has to cooperate against terrorism, and that every activity that helps to strengthen our resolve against terrorism and helps to prevent the recurrence of these sorts of activities is a very welcome one and one that we must support.
Acting President Professor Yemi Oshibajo. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has commenced a door-to-door distribution of food items to internally displaced persons in the Northeast. The distribution is coming few days after the acting president launched the federal government's food emergency intervention in the Northeast. According to NEMA, the distribution of food items will help address cases of food diversion.
Only a few days ago, Senator Florence Itagiwa was seen lamenting the diversion of relief materials meant for the people of Bakassi in Cross River State.
This thing is an eye-opener, and I believe that it has been happening for a long, long time. So with this discovery now, I'm calling on federal government to investigate the mode of distribution of relief materials to IDPs.
The above scenario may have prompted the action of the federal government as the acting president launched the government's food emergency intervention in the Northeast to address food scarcity problem that has affected the internally displaced persons camps in the region. The intervention, which targets IDP camps in Borno, Gombe, Adamawa, Bauchi and Gombe states, is expected to see the distribution of 30 metric tons of cereal to the IDPs.
Anywhere I am, you can pick me now.
2 days after the emergency food intervention was launched, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, commences a door-to-door distribution of the food items in Maiduguri, Borno State. The project coordinator at the Bakassi IDP camp in Maiduguri explains why the agency introduced the door-to-door method of distribution.
There have been outcry by individual and group of individuals that this food don't get to the end users. And the federal government is instructive to say this food that is being given by federal government must get to the end user. How do we ensure it gets to the end user? Is by taking it to the doorstep of the man who owns the food, rather than saying we are using a cluster system.
He also explains the distribution formula adopted by the agency.
The standard family size that we're using here is 6. So where we have a variation, we take a factor of that 6 to add to the ration. The duration of the ration we are giving is for at least 30 days, which means by the time this ration is over, the one we are giving now, another set will come in immediately.
Some of the beneficiaries in this camp expressed their satisfaction, apparently embracing the new method of distribution.
They have been giving us food, but we don't used to get it. This method is better.
This is not the first time that the government is sending food items to the internally displaced persons camp in the Northeast. As allegations of diversion rocks some camps, many hope that this new method of distribution will ensure that the items get to the people the project is originally targeted at.
In part 2 after the break, socio-economic rights and accountability projects use federal government for alleged failure to enforce distribution of prepaid meters. Please stay with us.